Hello everyone, this is Planckera, and welcome to my universe. So, I'm mostly happy with the proportions. You know, this hand I don't feel like drawing yet aside. I just have some stuff I kind of want to correct around her chest area, and then after that, I think I'm actually going to go and start adding lighting to various things, like especially the big swaths of paint here. I think they could use some shadows. So I tend to focus on just large shapes and whatnot first. Let me go ahead and hide some of the foreground stuff and her hair again, so this way I can check the proportions around her chest again. I just feel like it's still got some residue from when I was trying weird perspective, and it's not quite right in the current pose anymore. Anywho, what was I saying? Oh yes, I like to, you know, start with a lot of the larger shapes and whatnot. And for me, sometimes larger shapes means that I have shadows, which is why there's shadows on the face, shadows on the side of her shirt here, and, you know, various things like that. And sometimes I see them fine without it. Like in the case of the big blobs of paint here. And I add the shadows after. I had when convenient. But the past couple of sessions have largely been about figuring out the pose, proportions, and, you know, important things like that, as opposed to just going in and adding the lighting and all of these things. And with just the little bits of lighting that I've already done, in order to understand these shapes a little bit better, there's already some hints of it. So, like, if you look at the side of her face here, I can tell that the light is kind of coming from this direction. So I will be, and same with the, you know, everything else over here. So I'll be keeping that in mind as I go through and add lights to everything else. But if you watch some of my time lapses, certain things often get lights very late, and certain things get it right away. It's okay. The early stage is I just do whatever I can so I can understand what's going on. Nothing more. And only after that do I really start caring about a lot of lighting things. And I guess I also like to have some vague impressions, so that this way I can get a feel for the composition. But the composition for this one was mostly about, you know, the bright colors. So, getting all that right was just more important here, so I didn't end up worrying about shading all that much. And then in certain things like this hand back here, for example, I may not even add lights to that until the end, if it gets lighting at all. Because sometimes things that recede into the back, they don't need lights. They're perfect just like this. Because they're kind of going into the background, and when things go into the background, they get a little bit less detailed. And incidentally, when things go into shadow, they're also a little bit less detailed. So if you look at some of my other drawings, especially in this particular style, sometimes you'll see that I don't put any detail whatsoever on things that go into the background. Like the thing that I posted recently of the bunny girl OC that I drew. If you look at her hair and ear in the background, the ones that are kind of going back there, no shading there whatsoever. It's just all dark. 100% dark. And that makes sense in that context. Plus, my style of shading here is pretty simple. So, focuses largely on larger shapes. I think shapes are cool. That makes sense. But not what I'm saying, but the thing I just drew. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think it does, actually. Shoulders are... Let me look at her hips, actually. Yeah, they are going this way, aren't they? Okay, so maybe it does make sense. It just where the arm is does not make sense. Let's make it make sense. It is time to make everything make sense, except for this hand over here that I don't want to draw right now. We make an exception for him. Don't worry, his time will come. You just gotta wait for it. What are you? There's like some pixel dirt somewhere and I don't know where it's from. Oh no, I'm gonna have to go do some hunting, I guess. This is the downside to being a little bit messy with things sometimes, but I still consider it worth in the end. Oh, I see. You were that little back part I put on the shirt. Okay. Well, I'll clear that for now, and while I figure out the shape the shoulder should be in, because right now I'm kind of feeling it out because I'm not quite sure. That's why I keep saying I need more structure in my art. Because I can generally feel my way through it, but I think I'd get through it much faster if I just figured out better ways to structure my drawings. I'm working on it. All those headshots I've been posting has just been me practicing that, and progress has been made. I'm definitely getting better at it, but I am not completely satisfied with my solution yet. So I will be, well, doing more. So as always, I am open to requests for those. If you would like me to draw the head of your OC, or just any character you personally enjoy, feel free to drop me a request. You can just, I don't know, contact me on Twitter. You can drop a reply in any of the places where I post these drawings, in the Posts tab. You know, whatever is most convenient for you. But if you drop me something, I will draw it. 100%. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. I was just squishing her shoulders too much. Let's go and adjust the shirt accordingly. Get that to kind of hang off her shoulder a little bit. There we go. Is this too high? I think it's a little bit too high. I've raised it a little bit too much while I was trying to feel my way through the structure of her body here. But honestly, I'm kind of glad that all the proportions just kind of worked out. I feel that way about the way I draw proportions right now. A lot. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna smear things around and hope things work out for me, and generally it does. I gotta fix that, man. Okay, so I guess I also got rid of the little fold in her shirt here, but I'll add that back later. I don't need it there right now. It's fine. And then I don't actually feel like the shoulder's over there, so I'm gonna go and move that over just a little. The torso. Always a time. It's alright. It's alright. I'll find my way through. I always do. And I am still pretty sure I'll be able to get to lighting today. Because, well, I mean, I actually do think it's almost there. I just kind of want the overall strap here to go behind her shoulder a little bit, and I'm gonna hide them for a second while I figure out the way her shoulder should be. I'm gonna hide her ear too. It's kind of in the way. Okay. Gonna hide these things while I figure out her shoulder. I'm gonna double check her character design real quick. That is the one that stays on her shoulder, right? Okay, and this actually does not stick out past the overall strap, so I should be careful about that. You know, past me was on point. Just, using this paint to cover up the spots that I don't know what to do. Okay, but I should try. I should try to get this shaped right instead of just covering up my problems. I don't actually think this area is that bad. Okay, there we go. Let's clean that up a bit. Get everything nice. I gotta find a way to merge some layers. I've got a ton. I'm not even sure how that happened. But it's getting a little bit unwieldy to scroll through them all. Okay, and then we have the shadow of the shirt going over here. Yep, this way I can kind of understand the shape of her chest a little bit better. Side's kind of coming up this way a little, and I think that looks pretty alright. Now just shoulders. Always kind of takes me a hot minute to get there because... Let's see, I think just about everyone has a area that they feel like they're the weakest in, and for me that has always been arms. Not hands, arms. Arms specifically. I don't know why. But I have always found arms to be just unreasonably difficult to draw. And frankly, I still couldn't tell you why. I still don't really get it. But I know it to be true. Oh boy, do I know it to be true. So, I want to spend a little bit of time trying to get this arm right. You would think that given that I have so much trouble with arms, that I would stop trying to do this weird perspective with it, but I never learn. Okay, actually, I think the cuff of her sleeve should be a little bit lower at this angle, since I do not have it at quite as an extreme perspective as I did before. Let's try to get that shape up like that, so this way I can read it a little bit better. I'm not sure if that's shaped right, but I'll call it good for now. Does it feel attached to her yet? I don't think it does. I feel like it should be a little bit further to the left here. Alright, here we go. One last little bit of flailing for the road. But I think I have a good idea of what I need to do in my head. It makes sense to me. So... here's hoping I'm correct. I think at this angle, the shoulder's going to be pretty close to her head. Let me kind of pull this out just a little. Pull this out just a little, kind of get that kind of perspective in there, and I'm not sure if that's right, but I think it's close enough. Let me make this... push this down just a little bit more and round out the sleeve here a little. Try to make that more perspective-y. That is a technical term, I suppose. Gonna poke at it a little here. Okay. Okay. Not bad. I'm gonna thicken this a little. I'll do the same for the arm at some point. I guess I should do that now, actually. Where the heck do I have the arm here? Is it up here with the rest? There's the hand. So no, it's probably on the hips then. Are you my arm layer? You are. Most excellent. Okay. Bound the arm. Okay. Okay. Perfect the shape a little. I just kind of want to make this a little bit narrower at the bottom and... Ooh. Okay. You know, it wasn't my intention to completely get rid of the shadows there, but I think that might actually kind of work. Because, like, the light is probably hitting most of this, so there probably won't actually be that much shadow on the arm here. Okay, maybe I'm onto something. Yeah, I think I might have been trying to draw too much of the armpit. I never really thought about how the arm would be rotating here. I have to think about that for a second. Yeah, that actually looks a lot better. Okay, so I was just misunderstanding the pose a little bit. Makes sense. These things do happen. Let's go ahead and pull our armpit a little further over now, and hopefully that'll be good. Kinda make the body a little bit nicer shaped, and alright. Gonna clear some stray pixels there, and I might need to revisit it, but I think this is fine. Let's go ahead and get the strap of our overalls then. So I already established that the overalls, they go over the shoulder, and they do not let any of the shirt peek past. So I will draw accordingly. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I think last time I talked about how I was thinking about replacing the pen nib on my tablet. Well, I did. And now it feels weird. I'm not used to having my pen nib shaped like this. I'm used to the flat, kind of worn out version, not the pointy version. And I'm still kind of getting used to it. It's been slowing down my rendering in my off-stream practice. It's funny, I did it to hopefully speed it up a bit, and now I'm just like, whoa, whoa there. Everything feels wrong now. Brains are hilarious, I swear. They got a sense of humor sometimes. But now I'm having to readjust all my muscle memory, and that's probably going to take a little bit of time. Fortunately, I don't have to be very clean here yet. I can still afford to be quite messy. And that'll hopefully give me a little bit of time to get used to it before it is time for final rendering. 'Cause, yeah, it still feels weird. Okay, that seems alright. Let me go fix the back there. This is just because I didn't have everything painted that color. Some leftovers from earlier on in the process. Now this might look a little bit strange, but I don't actually want this strap of the overall to connect to the front part there. What I actually want is for a little back part to come out. There we go. so now it should look like it's connecting to the other end, and the other end is actually pretty far over there. So I think that's right. Let's go turn her hair back on. We'll give her ear back too. She can have all of the missing body parts and the paint splash as well. Okay, let's see if this does what I want it to do. Does it look good? I'm not going to be getting into a lot of rendering or anything today. I never like to get into rendering on the same day that I get all my proportions done because, well, I mean, I am not great at the proportion part. I am not. So that's why today I figured that I'd focus on some lighting stuff. And maybe I'll work on her face because I haven't needed to poke her face for a while yet. I do think I want to finalize that shoe a little bit more now. Just get it a little bit more detailed. And where did I put her leg anyway? Here we are. Okay, let's get the shape of this right. Because, well, that just looks uncomfortable. So that's that layer. Sure is. Okay. Let me take a look at her shoes again. All right. Let's go ahead and hide the details for now. And I'm just going to get the basic shape in there. The back is actually quite flat here. Yeah. Extremely, actually. So, normally when I draw a foot, I like have the ankle and then I have a spot for the heel. But the heel of her shoes here are actually like completely straight. When I look at my reference image. Then let's give her an actual ankle too. It's nice having body parts, you know? There we go, and are the bottom of her shoes pretty flat too? There is one little divot kind of around the arch of her foot, but for the most part, yes, quite flat. Quite flat indeed. So I'll just leave it like that, that's fine. And now let's give her some toes. It's still fine for this to be pretty messy. Most of this is going to be covered up, but I think it's still good to draw out the parts that are hidden in order to make sure that they are correct. It's actually a lot easier to draw them out in my experience. Because, like, if you try to be lazy and just only pay attention to the parts that are going to be visible in the end, they, at least for me, tend to come out a little bit disproportionate and weird. So, I do try to draw things out where I can. So I think it's kind of like this. There we go, yeah, I can kind of see it. And then we got toes here. Okay, let's make this like a little bit less 90 degree here. The little dent on the arch, and actually I think at this angle I see a little bit more of the top. So I want to make this a little bit more top heavy. There we go, that should be okay. So I will just only get the basic shape down, really. I will not be making this detailed or anything. That's kind of unnecessary. Because ultimately, even though I'm advocating for drawing it out, it's still not actually going to be seen. It's going to be covered up. So I only want to get enough down to make sure that I have it drawn right. No, that's not working. Okay. I only want to get enough down to make sure that I have it drawn right. And that is it. Trying to get her toes a little flatter on the ground here. So it's still a bare minimum drawing, which fortunately makes it pretty easy. Okay, there we go. I think that looks like toes a little bit more firmly on the ground. Bare minimum. And then that arch is going to be like, arch of our foot is going to be like right here. And that's where the tiny dent. But I don't actually think we'll see much of the tiny dent here. Maybe just a little bit of it. A little bit more than we would up here naturally, because here we're seeing a little bit more of the side rather than the top, just due to the angle. Okay, is it on her? Want to make sure that it's at the right point on her ankles and whatnot too. Okay, yeah, flatten the back. Seems okay. All right, let's go and redraw some of this, because this is totally wrong now. Like, totally wrong. So we got the, like, tongue of the shoe here coming out. And then there's a border going along the edge here. I think it just kind of hangs out the edge. Yep, sure does. I'll use that to make the shape a little bit more accurate too. And then we don't really see much of the back, but I think we see enough to kind of see this part coming down just a little bit. Okay, and then there's also like this green part in the middle, and I think the middle is going to be like right there. Okay, and I'll go ahead and put on some... Actually, no, not yet. I was going to say I'll put on some quick and dirty shoelaces, but no, not yet. Let me see. How do the white lines go down? I want to know where the shoelaces are going to go first. So it'll be something like that, and then the white part at the bottom of the shoe here. I'm not even going to draw the pink part. It doesn't really matter, it's not going to get seen. I'm pretty sure the shoelaces aren't either, but I want to have an idea of where they go. Just for the sake of picturing things. It's going to be very quick and dirty. There we go. That should be detailed enough. I think her foot might actually be a little bit small here. See, I can't really raise everything up. I said that I might need a little bit more vertical space. This is kind of confirming that. So I guess I'll give it to myself here. Let me see here. Resize canvas. Height. I don't need that much more, so I'll give myself just like 500 pixels. That should be plenty. Maybe I should have had it central, but whatever. I will just move everything down, because I do have a group titled Everything. Okay, 500 is probably a bit more than I needed, but I'll leave it there for now. It'll give me a little bit more space to mess around with. If I decide I want it. And I can crop everything later once I am satisfied with everything. Okay. And I think that's fine. Let me go drop the paint splash just a little. And then the part in the foreground will also need to come down just a little. It might even need to be a little bit bigger. Let's do that. Okay. This is probably where I should go fix the hand, but I don't wanna, so let's go put some light in the paint. Or some shadows, more accurately. Let's do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick a nice dark purple. And I'll mix the color right there because I like doing that. And then if the light is coming from that direction, I will just put some dark spots here. We'll make nice blobby shapes. And I'll try to pay attention to some of the blobs that I already have drawn out here. This is incidentally why I have my regular color here too, just so I can go back and add some colors. As needed. And then all the parts in front of her will get just regular old shadow color. Well, actually, we'll have both the light and the shadow color, whereas the parts that are going to be behind her, I think that's this one. Yes, they're just all going to be shadow. Just completely. Okay. And then what I think this really needs is some shiny. Because paint is pretty shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and pick another color. I'd like to use kind of a light orangey yellow for my highlights. So let's pick a nice highlight color. We're going to make this look nice and wet. And I'm going to go put on some light spots in various areas where I think it makes sense to have them. This is still messy. It'll probably change at some point as I really dig into the structure. But this is fine for now. Okay. Let's do the next color. Do I want to do the purple right now? Sure. Okay, let's make this splash a little bit nicer looking. Like, I think this looks okay. But I still think this looks kind of bad. So let's make it not look bad. That seems like a great place to start. How do I want to do this? How do I make this not look kind of terrible, honestly? Maybe something like this? Like, when I think of paint splashing, I kind of think of these shapes where it gets kind of thick at the top. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's like thin and then thick. With also just, you know, bits flying off in various places. I guess that's okay. Sure. Then I'll do the same thing here where I set my brush to overlay, pick a nice dark color. Do I like that one? It's kind of loud. This one's okay though. Alright. So here I'm gonna want the shadows to be kind of at the bottom there. Yeah, I think this makes sense for a paint color. And I'm just gonna very messily plop some colors down. And then I'm gonna want another one. But this time I think I'm gonna use Multiply and a light purple. It gives a different quality to the shadow. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. Let me see. So I tend to use this one when I want to avoid my shadow color getting like super saturated. Like, overlay in a dark purple will often give you an extremely bright color. Like, extreme. That's why I was worried that the color here was a little bit loud. but with a light purple with a brush set to multiply. It gives you a color that's a little bit more subdued. Okay, it looks pretty paint-like to me. I want to put some lights on the back there. Maybe like right here. Yeah, seems pretty good. Alright, let's go and give it some nice shiny lights now. Oh, no. We're going shiny lights. Paint is wet. So I want my brush on overlay. A lot of the time when I do highlights, I set it to soft light because, I don't know, it can get kind of intense otherwise, but I want it to be really intense. So, overlay is entirely appropriate. I don't know if that's right, but I'll leave it there for now. It's fine. At some point, I'll come back through here and actually get all these things accurate. But right now, you know, just accurate enough is fine. And I don't know, it looks like there's like... No, that... I don't like it. I'm gonna mess around with what I think the shape of this paint is. Nah, it's not like that. It's like coming from her foot and expanding outward. So it'd actually be probably more like this, what I have. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. And in that case, I probably actually want a shadow here somewhere. Needs to be like going out, but I don't know how to draw it. I think that'll be a problem for my future self. That's something I can easily look up photo reference for, so I'll leave it there for now. Okay, let's do the stuff around her hair. Give that some basic lighting. I always like just getting at least some basic stuff down. Just, well, for the sake of understanding what's going on. But I do think that it kind of helps me finalize the composition. Make sure I like everything that I've actually drawn. Very important. Ooh boy, that's really loud. I actually think that's good. Okay. Put in some shadowy parts here. Which side the shadows are on is kind of changing a lot just because this area is spinning. It's spinning around her. So the shadows change direction with that. I actually kind of like this little blob in her face. I think it works really well. Okay, let's make this. Let's make this nice and bright and wet. Perfect. So now I can figure out where the brightest points are and just keep going around. These little guys will probably need some shadows, but this is fine. Yeah, and a lot of those little guys are going to need shadows and highlights and everything, but there's not a lot of space to work with there, so that'll be the kind of thing that I just do in final rendering, because doing it now would be a nightmare. So I just want to make sure I have enough detail for me to see properly. And yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I think it looks pretty paint-like. Let's go ahead and get the background ones. Let's see, do I like the overall shape of the blue and green? I want to check that first. This part is too pointy. Not nearly blobby enough. But otherwise, I think it's fine. Maybe blob over here just a little bit more. Yeah, that seems okay. Let's give it some shadows. I just really don't want to spend more than a few minutes working on the shape just yet. Because I know that near the end, I'll really want to go through and make sure it's just right. Okay. So, interrupting myself because if you look at the color here, like, oh boy, that is certainly a green. It is just too bright for what I want to do, so I'm going to go use Multiply and a light purple instead. This one's probably going to be a little bit more purple and a little bit darker than what I would normally do for this, but as you can see, color, much more desaturated. Unfortunately, this one's terrible, so I need to pick a better purple. Yeah, that's super gross, man. Let me make it more purple. You think? Nope, nope, nope. That did not give me something better. Oh boy, okay. Man, so neither of my options are really helping me here. Okay, I'm gonna switch back and forth between them a little bit. Okay, that's a decent one. A little bit dark. So I'm gonna tone it down just a little bit. But I think that color is okay. And frankly, if I didn't find the color that I wanted, I was just gonna pick it myself. I do that sometimes. I like to mix colors when I can because it makes me happy. And I think it just makes everything look a little bit more cohesive when I use the same colors to define my shadows. So this way, you know, I always have a lot of purple in my shadows. And they're all just a little bit more similar. And even then, I'm not quite sure I like that. Let me see here. Can you be a little bit greener for me? Maybe just a touch more purple. Okay. Let's try this one. I think for here, I can just use the magic wand to kind of select things. This is quick and dirty shadow, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's a little better. But yeah, sometimes my usual color mixing just cannot get the right color no matter how hard I try. And at that point, I just kind of had to pick them. Well, that's fine. That's very doable. And then this long shadow is supposed to be from this paint here. I'm not actually sure how well that reads because it's far away, so I don't want them to be next to each other. But I might do it anyway, just because I think it looks nice. It kind of makes the yellow stand out a little bit more, so yeah, you know what? It's not accurate, but I think it looks better that way. And it'll also make some of the paint shapes elsewhere a little bit more clear. So, I'm gonna call it good. Okay, I think that's fine. Let's go ahead and find my highlight color. Make it nice and shiny now. Everything must be shiny. It is required. Okay, that's good. I just realized that I hadn't named that layer. I think the blue area is fine. So I'm just gonna go right into shadows. Oh, that's a good color. Oh, my purple and overlay worked out for me this time. And I want her body to cast shadows too. Again, normally they should probably be a little bit further back, but you know what? It's fine. I like the way it's framing her. So I think it actually looks nicer like this. So I am just gonna do it like this. And it's fine. I'll even put some over here where it doesn't really make much sense. But it looks good, so it's fine. Okay, now I want to get some nice shapes in here. Figure out where these blobs of paint kind of originate from and what kind of shapes are going to be in there. Speaking of, I kind of want some shadows around this yellow part going around her waist, too. Alright, got the blobs on there. I think that's fine. Maybe I'll add some darker stuff there. Before I move on, I do appear to have some residue here. Is it from the back leg or the overalls? It is the back leg. There we go. Leg. Definitely not going over there. It is not that long. Okay. Okay, that seems like a pretty good color, so let's use it, and I will just add a few lights here and there, wherever I think they're appropriate. Okay, that's probably good. And I think that's all of it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yes. No, I haven't drawn like any of the paint blotches on her overalls or anything, but frankly, not important right now. So I'm not going to worry about it. So I guess the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go put some shadows in her hair finally. Yeah, I guess we can actually start thinking about some of the facial rendering. Alright, now before I do that, I want to get some of these other places all nicely lit. Where's her leg? So the leg here should have a little bit of light on the front. This is still mostly the side. And then the overall decorations, the little cuffs there, should have a shadow color. That's on this, right? Yes. So let's find a nice shadow color for them. I feel like that's a little bit too blue. So let's do the multiply purple instead. Give me a little bit less of a saturated color. Yes. Yes, that is better. Okay, and then the one on the back leg will be completely in shadow. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a couple of other places that I think should have some nice little shadows. I want some of the side of the strap here. Oh, you were not locked. Underneath the hair. Underneath the paint here, we'll have some shadows. The small details on the overalls will get their shadows later. It's not really important. The bracelet, I don't think I gave shadows. So let's give it some, and it's just going to be completely in shadow, so little bit too hot. There we go. That is perfect. Okay, and let's get some shadows on her shirt. Let's see, so her shirt is like a super thick material. Oh, and look, it's even hiding the collar for me, so I don't have to draw it. Nice! But I should know where I want that little fold to be. Roughly. So let's hide the hair for a second. It's gonna be like, I don't know, probably right here. So I'll just put the little shadow here. Oh, shoot, my brush is still in multiply. Oh no. There we go. Well, I'll go put the little shadow from the fold of her shirt there. And then the rest, I kind of want that come up into her chest a little bit here. So it looks like a thick material. Right now, it doesn't quite. But I realize most of her shirt is just going to be in shadow anyway, so maybe it's fine. Okay. And I will take this dark shadow and start kind of making things that look like folds. Let's see here. So this fold should probably be something like this. I just see the fold that I drew there. And I want the folds to be kind of round, since this is a thicker material. Okay, and I'll add a little bit of dark shadow underneath the overall strap here. Just to give the overalls a little bit more presence. I'm not going to worry about the symbol on her shirt yet. The other reason that this is drawn at all is because it helped me picture the perspective on her chest. And let's see, on the sleeve here, I will go ahead and just make that part darker, and then I will put this area in shadow since her hair is on top of it. That seems fine. Okay, do I need any further shading on this foot here? If anything, the entire thing should just be in shadow, but due to the direction it's pointing, I think that this is okay. I'll probably put some shadows on the shoelaces when the time comes, but I don't think getting into that level of detail is necessary. A little bit on the details might be nice, though. So I'll go ahead and do that. Just pick a color. Let's see, where is that group? Here we are. So this is like pure white. So what I'm doing now is totally unnecessary, but it makes me feel good about myself, so... Because literally, it's just gonna give me the color I picked up there. Okay, there we go. And I'll do the same on this foot here. Just let those blend in a little bit more. Okay. I guess I'll give the overall some folds too. Those are, you know, probably some kind of denim. So that's going to be a fairly thick material that is prone to bunching up and holding that bunched up shape. Let's see, we got probably some dark spots over there. I'll just, when in doubt, just kind of put a wavy line all the way down, and it'll be okay. When in doubt. I think I can just do something like this. And it'll be fine. And then down on the leg here, the back one, I think I want to have another shadow color to make this just a little bit darker. So I'll go pick one there. And for the record, the purple that I use in order to pick the shadow colors, 100% inconsistent on it, don't worry about it. I very rarely ever use the same purple. I'll just make that a little bit darker, and let's see here. How can I make you look a little more denim-like? Let's just, you know, like I said, when in doubt, wavy line. There we go. We got a wavy line. Seems fine, and I will worry about the details on here later. That was, again, just something added to help me understand the shape and check composition and things like that. It's not really important to get right now. So, continuing to ignore everything up here, let's go ahead and put some shadows on our hair. Where is my hair layer? There you are. Okay, so there's probably going to be a few shadows around the little hair ribbon, and then something like this. Gonna keep it pretty simple for now. Actually, let me invert the colors here, just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So with the colors inverted, the lighter colors are going to become the shadows. So, I want to make sure anywhere that I want to be in shadow is using the lighter color as opposed to the darker one, which is a little weird. But, you know, it's fine. This just makes it easier for me to see. You get used to it. And then at some point I'll be able to make all this look a little bit nicer. I don't think I want to go all the way up with this one. Because currently this is all quite messy. But that's okay. This isn't rendering. This is just blocking down my ideas. I don't like any of this. Let's fix it. There we go. That's fine. Okay. Now we invert the colors again and all is well. Now, a lot of the time, when I have kind of hair going in the back there, I'd often just make it entirely dark. I don't think that's the right move here, though. Here, I think will just shade it normally again. We'll put a dark spot by her head, though. A fairly small one. And then I actually do think that the side hair is probably going to be sitting on top of the side ponytail here, so I will draw it like that. And I do not think I will add the strong specular highlights. You know, the thing that makes hair shiny just yet. It's not really necessary. This is fine for now. Okay. Anything else I want to do, or is this, like, fine? Let's take a look here. Is this just fine? This hand aside, yes. So you know what? I think it's time to stop procrastinating. Let's do the hand. I am terrified. But I keep doing these things. Just like too cool. cannot resist the allure of cool. No matter how hard I try. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go onto the layer with the arm. All of it is going to be dark shadow. Just all of it. Maybe I will add some mid shadow, you know, this guy, at some point. But right now, entire thing dark shadow. This will make it easier for me to see. I'm going to hide the nails for just a little bit. And I have a clear image for the index finger in mind. So let's see if I can actually draw that. Or if I'm just going to be screaming internally forever. I will need the help of her fingernails for this. Okay. Actually, what direction should that be? I need to do the pose. Figure out the angle. Yes, okay, I had it right. All is well. Oh, but I made this the same color as her nails. That might actually be a problem. Maybe I should make it yellow. Because, yeah, there is a yellow one in there. Okay. I'll make it yellow for now. Not sure if that's the right call, but it'll let me see what I'm doing in this very moment, so I will leave it. I will worry about the exact color that it should be a little bit later. Okay, so now I try to... So her nails are not square, they're rounded. So I will have to make this look different at some point, but for now, this is what will allow me to draw it. So I'm gonna do it like this. Okay. Later, I will get them to be completely the correct shape. One thing at a time here. Especially when trying to do something like this. Oh gosh. I have never attempted something quite like this. Never. I mean, I've done finger foreshortening before, but it's never been quite like this. This is something. And my brain does not know what's going on. But all things considered, it's doing pretty well. So I think that this is starting to kind of show what I wanted to show. So the kind of shape that I think that the finger here should be making, in theory. Okay, I think that kind of looks right. I'll roll with it. Okay, let's make the thumb a little bit shorter. I think it's a little bit too long right now. And once again, I think I need the thumbnail to kind of help me out. This time, we're kind of seeing the side of the thumb. So I kind of only want it on half the finger. Have it kind of sticking up there, and once again, needs to be kind of sticking out. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Let's make this a little bit more thumb-shaped. So now I will start just sculpting the thumb out of all of this. Okay, so like the little pad of the thumb is here, and then we just kind of see the top of it. I think something like that's about accurate. Okay, and then... let's see, we probably have the rest of the fingers just kind of wrapped around the side here, doing something like this. I don't even know how to begin describing that, though. Not in words, in this case, in drawing. Because I do see drawing something as just kind of describing the way it looks. It's just in blob rather than in word. I don't know, does that make any sense whatsoever? Not really. No, that's terrible. The index finger's okay. Everything else, not so much. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the index finger, but I'm going to erase everything else. And I'm gonna try to actually structure this properly. So, let's hide this for a moment. This too. Okay, so in theory, there should be like a palm. We see very little of it, and a lot of the top. So, kind of like this. So very, very little of the main side, but a lot of the top. And I think that looks pretty palm-like. Let's make it a little bit larger. Right now, I think it was a little bit too small. I'm gonna let it show a little bit more of the top. Okay, now get this shaped correctly so it's all in perspective. At least somewhat. Okay, now I'm gonna send this further down. The perspective is extreme. Okay, that seems pretty legit. Maybe I need a little bit more just regular palm because the angle changed a little bit. Yeah, I think that's actually a little bit better. Yep, sure do. Okay. So now I'm going to connect it to where I think her wrist is going to go, roughly. And I think that's like right here. Okay, and I will adjust the brush accordingly. So the brush base is more like this. I will actually get it inside of her hand here. Okay, let's hide the foreground so I can actually see where the brush tip is. Fortunately, I have that in its own layer group, so it's very easy to move. Make it just a little bit smaller. Alright, that all seems okay. Most of it's covered up anyway. And where's my brush base again? I just want to clean up the stray pixels. Because, oh boy, there were a lot of them. Alright. Now then, I had a finger. I want that finger to be on top, I think. The index finger is on this side. Okay. Gonna push this down just a little. And I don't really want the finger to be underneath the brush tip there. So I'll make it a little smaller. And let's see, with how it's pointed, if her arm went down, I think that's the right spot for the index finger. I don't think I'm drawing the hand backwards this time. Go ahead and put the nail back on. Okay, that seems all right. Now then, the thumb. I'll go ahead and draw that. I think it's just going to do something like this. It's going to be behind the brush at this angle, so you know what? It's not what I was initially going for, but I think I'm cool with it. I think I am. It'll make my life a little bit easier, so I'll just, I don't know, I'll do something like this. Or it's like bent and holding on that way. A little bit lower. There we go. Okay. And now I have to figure out what to do with the rest of the fingers. So they should kind of be wrapping around, which would send them this way, which, I don't know, it feels a little bit strange. But when I do the pose, that is basically what happens. Let's see, we have... Gonna push the finger a little bit to the side here. Okay. I didn't think I had it far enough forward, so now I should have room for all 4 fingers. And I guess the way that I have it drawn, it's gonna do something like that? Hands, man. That just feels wrong, though. I think it's just because the wrist is too straight. Let me see if I can find a reference. Let's see if I can find how the hand would wrap around that. No, a lot of the stuff here is just basic stuff, random hand poses as opposed to holding something. Unfortunate. Let me take a look at my own hand again. Okay. I think I figured out what I was doing wrong. So I think I can let the finger come out straight. And then it'll turn somewhere. Well, let me just get all the fingers out. And then if I grab another layer just to make my life easy, and I don't know, it doesn't really look like she's holding it if I do it like this, though. Because, like, in theory, all these fingers should be wrapping around. Like, paintbrushes are tiny, man. And the only reason that this looks as big as it does is because of the heavy-duty foreshortening. So maybe I'm just drawing the fingers too small, too. And I need to make them, like, fat. And I need to, like, skew them that way. And then maybe it'll start looking okay. I guess it's fine if you don't really see the back, if I have them, like, curved correctly. I don't know, does it look like she's holding it yet? Not really. Not really. I have a love-hate relationship with doing stuff like this. Oh man, it looks so good once I get it there, but getting it there is rough. Because I feel like we should see the fingers curving. They're like the top of the fingers. But I had to do something weird because everything about this is weird, so... Maybe this is a case of how I learned to stop worrying and... enjoy... I don't know. Random finger weirdness. I'm gonna alternate some colors here. I guess that's okay. Yeah, I think that's actually okay. I think I'm gonna leave the hand on all these separated layers for now. Because I get the feeling I will be revisiting it a couple of times. Probably more than a couple of times. But yeah, I think that's okay. Like, it looks a little weird, but I think that's just inevitable because of the foreshortening is weird. Alright, I'm gonna take a moment to go look at the brush. I think this is fine for now. And we don't see any of the other fingernails because they're all going behind here. This is the part that I think I'm gonna have to rework at some point, but I think this shows the structure well enough. For now. For now. That's nonsense, but that's fine. It's all covered up. I can leave it as nonsense as I want. Now then, I need to make it really, really round, though. I think that's the big thing. It's just got to be, like, the roundest thing ever in order to make this make any sense. Right now, I'm just really hoping that I don't have her hand backwards. It's like, is the index finger supposed to be on this side or this side? Maybe I should flip it just to make sure. Because I am terrified that I have it backwards. Oh, I didn't put the nail in. Oh gosh, I might have it backwards. Let me get the nail in there. Because that actually did look a little bit better. Is it? Do I have the hand backwards? Let me look at the other way versus this way. No, I think I had it right the first time. Okay. All is well. I draw hands backwards so often. I just make a point of asking myself that question every time at this point. Of... Is this the right way? It is, I think, both the downside of using my own hand as a reference. I do tend to see it a little bit backwards compared to what somebody in front of me would see. But for two, I am actually a little bit dyslexic, so I tend to... Sometimes my brain thinks things when and tells me things when it means literally the opposite. So... that complicates things sometimes. Okay, there we go. And now I just kind of want to attach the hand just a little bit better here. And I think that'll look good once I actually give her a wrist. I guess I can do that now. Let's go turn this into a wrist. Oh, I have the layer locked. Oh, wait, you're the... No, you are the palm. Okay. Let's see. The wrist, it's gonna be kind of hard to see. The foreshortening is real here, so I want to keep it pretty subdued. Okay, and then there's like a little bit of paint that's sneaking in behind her hand there, and I need to make sure that these areas never overlap. 'Cause otherwise it'll look strange. Okay. But there you go. Problem solved. I'll just make sure they never overlap. Okay, let's see. Is that like the main points of the stuff I want to draw? Let's go ahead and invert the colors on the brush base again. Now that I have the hand roughly drawn. Emphasis on roughly, but that's fine. And let's see what color I want to make the brush there. What options do I have? Does she have one of each color? No, I see pink, blue, and yellow. I don't really think I can use blue, so yeah, I think yellow is probably the best choice here. If I don't want it to blend in with her fingernails there. I'll just put some shadows around, and I'll put some shadows on the brush tip. Oops. Did not have the layer locked. And then I'll do it to some stuff to make it a little bit more brush-like. Something like that. I'm actually still not sure if it reads, if I'm being completely honest, but... let's see if I can make it read a little bit better. No, not liquify. You're a little bit too big for liquify. Little bit too large. Whoa there. Hold the handle, and I just got so excited. Okay. And then if I make a point of just making this part nice and bright, I think that this will read as paint. With maybe some brushy spots in there. Let's make it a little bit blobbier. I don't know. We'll make some blobs here. I can make that look good, but I think that reads much better. I think it looks much more like a blob of paint now. And let's give myself a little bit more horizontal space too. I'm going to go back into resize canvas, and I guess my aspect ratio remains square. Huzzah. Okay. There we go. I actually think everything looks pretty alright. So I did mess around with her hair today, so I don't think I want to go too deep into that, and I generally like to get the hair before I get serious on some other stuff. Hello there, Mishi. Thank you very much. I have been working hard to get things to look right. Alright. But the parts of the hair that I messed around with were all just the pigtails. So I think I can still start working my way into the rest of her hair here. Start cleaning some of that up, and I don't trust myself to touch the paint today. I want to make sure all of that is in the right place, and when I do that, I like to not look at the image for a little while. So that'll probably be for next time, but for now, I think I want another shadow color for hair-related things. Also, I don't want her eyelashes to be black, so this'll also be eyelash color. That seems like a pretty good color. And I will add that in a few key points. Thank you. I like doing stuff like that. I think it's very fun. I call it a very round composition where everything just looks like it's spinning around. I like making things spin. It's very fun. Okay, we'll plop that here. Just to kind of separate things a little bit. And let's see here. Around the hairband needs some. Just kind of where it's coming out and going in and all these things. Besides that, do I need any over here? I don't think so. Yeah, I think it should be fine. Let's go ahead and color her eyelashes. Maybe a little bit darker than that. Let me get just a tad darker. It's gonna get really saturated if I do it with overlay, so I will use a light, kind of desaturated purple. No, a little bit more. Had to think about that one for a second there, but I do not think it is quite dark enough. I still just enjoy mixing the colors directly like this, as opposed to just picking them. But I think that works. Oh, I haven't even given her eyebrows yet. I should do that. Okay, there we go. That's good. Okay, and face colors. I'll actually give her a nose here. Initially, I was planning on a slightly different style, and I do not give characters noses in that style. But this one I do, so I guess she gets a nose. There we go. A little bit high now. Oop. That's a bit better. And I don't normally pick a mouth color yet, but I guess I will. Something kind of pink I think will look good. Let me see, I think I can pick a better color than that. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So normally the way I like to render things is I go from the thing most in front to the thing most in back, roughly. I don't always do it quite that perfectly. So I already have shadow colors picked for these colors here, because I think this and this use roughly... Oh no, actually they don't. Yeah, they don't. Okay, but... are the pink the same? Pink is the same. Okay. Yeah, I just compared these two colors, the green parts. And no, the green here is different, so I should pick a different shadow color. But for now, I will perfect the shape of that headband. The dots will come later. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay. So it's very pointy. Very, very pointy. You know what? I'm gonna do this all in one color at first, because I am pretty sure that this uses the same color as her shoes, which I have mostly drawn, and I think it'll be easier for me to kind of perfect the shape if I just use one color. In fact, I will invert the color so this way I can see a little bit better. So let's see, well, where do I think that should go in underneath her bangs here? Because yeah, her bangs should definitely be making an impact there. So maybe I should actually perfect the shape of the bangs first. Let's do it. That's why I say roughly going from front to back. But sometimes I gotta do things in a slightly different order. Gotta invert the color again, so this way I can see a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna go look at my reference of her bangs again. And I will hide the hair clip just to get all those shapes right here. And I will go make all of this look nice now. I have the shadows roughly in there, but if I end up changing a lot of them here, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. I will go back through and paint them a little bit more correctly once I'm satisfied with the location of everything. Okay, so let's see. Where does the hair come out of the headband? I'm gonna be going back and forth on these layers, I think. So let's see. Let's round this a little bit, have it match the shape of her head a little bit better. Okay. Okay. I do want it to be a little bit thicker. Which does mean that the ears are in the wrong spot, so I'm just gonna erase those for now. I do this a lot when I'm going back through and kind of perfecting things. I erase what I drew before in my rough, and I just redraw it a little bit later. It needs to be accurate now, whereas before it really didn't. Before I could kind of do whatever I wanted to get the gist of it down, make sure that I liked the way the general composition and whatnot looked. Because that's what was important there, and it no longer is. It is no longer the most important part. Now it's actually important to get every detail exactly where it belongs, and where it will be for the final version. Actually, hold on. This is the long side hair, so this actually should be... Oops. Going behind here. So what, does it go back there? No, that doesn't work. How the heck are you shaped? Yeah, it is true that the top of her head is kind of tilted back here. Okay, yeah, I think something like that should work. Just gotta make it round. Okay, and then it should, like, hide behind her hair somewhere around here. That's actually a lot further back than I expected. I'm gonna have to really make sure this is actually correct, because that does not look right. So I guess we'll just have green hair Iofi for a little while? It's fine. It's totally fine. Let me see. I'm gonna hide her hair again. Where is the top of her head, anyway? It might actually, at this point, just be easier to redraw it. Yeah, I see. I was definitely onto something, though. I do think that the top of her head is more... like this. It was way further back than I was giving it credit for. Okay. But it is supposed to be going behind the side hair there, so do I have to change where I draw that side hair? I probably do, actually. Okay. I'm gonna fix the colors here, and we're gonna drop the opacity. Let's see, let's see. I don't know, I kind of like where it is, so... maybe I just call it a stylistic choice and call it fine. But let's try to get it at least somewhat accurate here. Does that make more sense? I wouldn't say it makes any more sense than what I had before, so I think I might just leave it and let the hairband just kind of disappear around here. It's being covered up by the hair being flung around. I think that makes sense. I'll just change the shape a little bit here. Yeah, this is what I mean by I have to get all the things accurate now. Very important. Because I never even realized that I was this far off in how the hair should be structured. Before, I was largely running on just pure energy. And, like, I know the shape of her bangs is not entirely correct either. So I'm gonna want to get that really accurate, too. So I'll tighten this just a little here. Make it look like it's being kind of held in place by the headband. Okay, now let's make the hairband kind of disappear into hair. Okay, I think that should work. And this side needs to kind of disappear around her head. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. I think this should be fine. I think I want this to be a little bit more sharply curved, though. And it'll just vanish into her hair. This is fine. Maybe it doesn't make complete sense, but I think it is fine enough. Let me flip this. Make sure that I'm getting the general shape right here. I think I am. Yep, seems fine to me. Oops. No, I'm not double-clicking. Stop it. Okay. So let's get the shape of this hairband right now. I'll get it perfectly rendered. Then I will add the little ears. And after that, I will worry about getting all the colors on it. Zoom in a little bit, because, man, I'm still getting used to this new pen nib. It feels weird. It's taking me a little bit longer to render things than usual. Because I still feel a little bit imprecise and shaky with my strokes. That's what happens when you've been using the same one for 7 years. Hello, Carovid. You seem very excited. How are you doing? Phew. Oh, congrats. Where are you planning on going anywhere? Okay. Ah, I see. Well, congrats. Is that a place you want to live, or are you moving there for work, or something else? Both? Okay, makes sense. Always nice when you can find a job in the place you actually want to live. Seems like a very good deal. Alright, and this shape is almost there. Just still slight internal screaming because new pen nib is making me confused on how to structure my strokes. I just need more time for my muscle memory to develop. Oh, congrats. Oh, it's fine. I'd been using the same pen nib for, like, more than 5 years. and it was like worn down all the way to the end, so I replaced it with a fresh one finally. So in theory, maybe it should make drawing certain things easier, but my muscle memory is just not used to it, so it just needs some time to adjust. And it's just not sure what to make of things right now. Okay, I think that's probably good. Is it on her head? Let's go and put her hair back here. And see if I can structure some hair shadows around where I just put this. Okay, and actually, I changed my mind. While I'm here, I am gonna get the shape of her bangs correct, because they're a lot more just kinda simple, fluffy, and thin, whereas I have mine are pretty thick. So let's see, I'm just gonna be going back and forth between this and the reference for a while. And I have to remind myself that when I have the colors inverted like this, the darker color is actually the lighter color. It can be very easy to forget. So when I want a dark spot, that's actually where I put the lighter color. For now. For as long as I have colors inverted. So I guess I'll just render out the hair shape too. Oh no. Yeah, that definitely seems like something that can happen. I think when it comes to certain tools, replacing is just inevitable. Eventually things wear down. It is what it is. The fact that it lasts me as long as it did is pretty good, I think. Like with the number of pen nibs that came with the tablet, if I keep using them at the same pace, I should have some for like the next 30 years, so I think I'll be okay. I'm not even sure if the tablet will survive that long. It's kind of funny. Off stream, I was rendering hair of something, and now I'm back to rendering hair again. Ah, anime hair. There's just always so much of it. And I swear, like, most anime girls just don't look right unless they have, like, 50 pounds of hair. So it always takes me a little while to get through it. It probably takes me even longer if I insist on trying to render things zoomed in to 133%. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, whenever I'm zoomed out at that point, everything just looks terrible to me. Oh no. Yeah. Fortunately, the one that I'm using does not need to charge. Because I'm just using a tablet with no, like, display or anything. I just hook it up to my computer and use my regular monitor. I prefer it this way. I've tried using some proper pen displays. I grabbed a laptop that would let me do that, and man, I hate it. I'll need some. I think I just need to get used to it, really. But my hand gets in the way because with the way that I've been used to it, the way I've been drawing at the computer since I started doing digital art, just forever ago. I have my tablet down on my lap, and then my screen up in front of me. and they never interact. Whereas if you're drawing directly at the screen, like, my hand is in the way. I can't see through my hand. And it drives me nuts. It's just one of those things, one of those subtle differences that you don't really think about until you try it. But that has been the hardest part of getting used to that. Yeah, I imagine for some people it's like, you're used to seeing your hand. So, when it's not there, you have no idea where the mark is going to go. And that'll also drive you crazy. I want this to be thinner and different shape. Yeah, there we go. We're just going to be completely restructuring the hair here, but that's fine. But yes, that's why I say that I think all I really need to do is get used to it. I just haven't really had a chance to do so. But man, it's gonna be quite the thing to get used to. Alright, how do I want to go about this? I might actually do some shenanigans with new layers. So maybe I don't have to worry about it quite as much. And I can merge them all down in the end. I just want them to be very spinny, just like everything else. But I think this kind of texture suits the way Iofif's bangs look a little better. Before, they were kind of thick, whereas the strands on her bangs in her official art are very small and delicate. But I'll worry about the colorization later. So I'll just go back and forth between these layers. I'm gonna clean some of this up here too. There we go. I'll just sweep those across there. Everything must be flippy and spinny. Very important. Everything. Right, so Caravan, since you're moving for work, what are you going to be doing for a living? Same. I do love me some extreme perspective. It is a good time. I tried to do some for this one, but it didn't work out. Whoa. Oh, that's a very interesting field. Very terrifying field. Lots of things that can go wrong. Good luck. Alright, I think that one looks good. I'm gonna have to do one underneath. What kind of perspective are you hoping to be able to do? For me, I've been having a great time with just like random foreshortening. I really want to get good at that because I have so much fun every time I do it. Okay, how's this looking so far? Shadow being wrong aside, I think the shapes look pretty good. I like the way it's flipping. Okay. Okay, and this has to be the final shape, so I can't just leave it kind of half done there. Yeah. It's okay. I am glad that there's people doing those things, because we certainly need it. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that, but... Well, hopefully you can help out some other people. Stop, more people from running into those issues. Good luck. Alright, let's add some more flippiness to this. There we go. More that way. Get everything super flippy. Maybe make this just a touch longer. There we go. I think that's better. Okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead and put the colors back, and I think that's looking pretty good. Very, very flippy, and I think it looks pretty soft. Okay, so I think that's probably sufficient information for me to figure out what to do with her hairband. So I think I will carry on there, maybe get the back of her head just a little. Just to kind of help me figure out exactly where this headband should be disappearing. Something like that. Yeah, I think that's mostly looking in perspective here. Let me double check it. Do I need it to be a little bit rounder? Let's find out. Let's make it a little bit rounder up here. It's like I have her head at a little bit of a weird angle. Oh, all right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to have you here. Okay. You. I swear, even some of these things that look like they should be so simple to draw, but the angles that I've been drawing things at, there's always some kind of shenanigan. But I think this should look pretty good when it's done. I actually really like the way her bangs turned out. They're not even close to done, and I think they look great. So this should be pretty nice to finally render out. But I do think I have everything looking pretty good, so now I just, you know, just gotta get the final touches on there. Time to actually make things clean and polished and nice looking. Is that good? I don't know, something still feels a little bit wrong. What feels wrong about you, little hairband? What are you hoping from me? What do you want me to do? I will listen to everything you have to say. Yeah, there we go. I think that's a little bit better, and then maybe just a little bit higher here. Yeah, I like that. Unfortunately, I use liquify, so I kind of have to smooth out the edges again, but that's fine. It's fine. So I'm not going to worry about shading it just yet, because there are two colors on this hairband. One side is green and one side is pink. And I'm just using one solid color because, well, it's easier that way. It is so much easier that way. This way I can just focus on finalizing the shape, and then I can go back and fix the colors later. Just, you know, lock the layer, make it so I can't color outside the lines, and all will be well. And I think that looks pretty okay. Is it too thin, though? Nah, it's a pretty thin hairband. Maybe it's a little bit too thin. Just a little bit. So I'll add a little bit more thickness through here. Just a little. Okay. Okay, yep, I think that's perfect. So let's go and add the little ears. So one kind of comes up like this. I do not like that shape. Let me use a nice big thick brush so I can just draw the whole thing at once. In that case, I'll do it on another layer so I can erase a little bit more easily. Okay, that seems a lot better. I just gotta shape it now. Just gotta shape it now. Let's see, is that the right direction? Maybe a little bit more... little bit more over here, and... Okay, so we're gonna want it rounder on the top. And then it's like tied. So let me go ahead and put in the green one too. And that is gonna be the same green as her shoes. So I will grab that green there and get a big old thick brush and grab the other side. Little bean, I guess. There we go. I think that's pretty okay. And now I just gotta figure out how to make them look like they're tied together. I have never actually attempted to draw something that is two different colors tied together before. So this will be interesting. But it's okay, I can just kind of draw it out like this, and then when I'm done, I will merge it all together. I've complained a couple of times this stream of how I feel like I had a few too many layers to scroll through. So for anybody wondering why I merge layers together, that's basically why. After a while, I just get annoyed by the sheer number and how much scrolling I have to do to go from the top to the bottom. So sometimes I'll add them into groups and then like minimize the group if I really, really want to keep them separate. But most of the time, I find it easier just to merge them all together. Stops everything from getting too unwieldy. Okay. So now, how exactly should they be tied together? So there's going to be like a little knot. Let me go pick the shadow color that I plan to use for the pink. I have it here. So I will add just a little circle right there. Okay. And then inside of it, let me go grab the shadow color for the green. There's gonna be like some green spots and I don't actually know how these kinds of knots look. I should probably look up a reference. Yeah, I should probably look up a reference. Let me do that real quick. I guess I can use the one on her. The one on her actually just shows the pink. Okay, because the way I was initially planning on doing it was making it look like the two colors were mixing with each other. But when I look at her actual ribbon on her model, it is just pink. So that probably means I don't have to worry about that, and I can... It looks like it's just treated like a fairly normal bow. Okay, I can do that. So this tail will come out here. This tail will come out here. You will be rotated to come out a little more evenly, and I'm actually going to invert your color just so I can see a little bit better. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. 2 little leaves. It looks like a little cherry. That is surprisingly cute. Okay, and I will shape this side just a little better to make it look like it's coming out here. There we go. Now it looks like it's coming out of the cute little cherry. Alright, now then. I will invert your color for a moment too, and I want to get the hairband to be the correct color. Actually, before I invert you, let me pick the color there, and now I can go get this color right. Oh, wrong layer. There we go. And I'll grab the shadow color too. Most of that is going to be in shadow. And I like to add just a little bit on the edge here to just give it a little bit more thickness. Even if it's thin. This just makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional in my opinion. Okay. And I will add the pattern on it at the end. Because there's a little stripe pattern on the green side and a little dot pattern on the pink side. That will come a little bit later. Nope, I do not have that edge clean, do I? Let's fill that in properly. There we go. Now then, I can go and just get my little 3D-ness there, and I think this side's a little bit more in the light, so I'm not gonna put as much on the back side there. I just want a little bit of extra darkness here. Give that little ear, I call them little bunny ears because that's what they look like to me, just a little bit of extra presence. There we go. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Let's go ahead and put these colors back. Now that I should be able to see them. And I'll start getting the color on the little bow knot looking good. So as far as I can tell, it really is just a normal bow. So I will draw it like that. Where I just kind of do something like this. Make it a little bit lumpy because I think that makes them look cuter. And then from there, I just, you know, bow. It's a bow. I have drawn many a bow, so I know roughly what they look like. Okay, and on this side, I think the location I want the little bit of extra shadow for a little bit more 3D-ness is on this side. How thick is this cloth? Not especially. So I think I'll just leave it like that. I don't quite like the shape here, so let me fix that a little. And then this looks like more like a matte cloth as opposed to like a shiny ribbon or something. So I think that's all the shading it needs. So I'll go do the other leaf here. I guess this side looks more like a leaf to me because it's green. Go figure, I suppose. Alright, let's get this shaped nicely here. And there we go. And this one, I think gets its little bit of extra 3D-ness on this side. I just try to think about which side we see more of. And for this side, I think it's right here. Okay, and I think that looks fine. Are they too big? I might have actually made them too big, trying to compensate for when I made them too small for the first time. I think I did. Okay. I think the knot is fine, so I'll just make them a little bit smaller here. There we go. I think that's adorable. Let's keep it. And I think I will just merge everything down now, and then I will add the pattern here. And I do want to do it on a separate layer because otherwise it's going to be annoying. Why did I name the group hairband pattern? My brain was 2 steps ahead of me. Okay, let's grab some colors. I think I'm going to start with the green stripes. Zoom in a little here. Make sure I grab the right color. Yeah, that is a really dark green. Wow. Okay. Nope, it did not give it to me. Did not copy it to my clipboard like I thought it would. My color picker is having technical difficulties. Did it copy it that time? Yes, okay, we're good. Okay, so they're fairly thin stripes. Oh. And actually, before I go and do that, I see a couple of spots that I kind of have to fix because I made the ribbon a little bit smaller. I might still give it some highlights if I feel like it is lacking after I put the pattern on. Okay, there we go. Now I can put the pattern on. What direction did they go? From... They're like parallel with her eyes on the ribbon, and then... Okay. So I'm pretty sure that they go this way. And then the opposite direction on the ribbon. Yes, yes. And about how many stripes are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That is not right. Okay. But yes, that's the general idea. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. That's better. Let me get them the right thickness now. These ones were a little bit harder to keep a consistent width compared to those. Those were super easy. But here I have to like contend with all the folds I put in the bow and everything and shenanigans. Shenanigans, I tell ya. Alright. And maybe I just put this one a little bit lower down. Okay, yeah, that looks a little bit better. Alright, let's give these guys some shadows before I move on. It's probably just gonna end up being pure black at this rate, but that's fine. You are not set to overlay. Let's see, did that end up being pure black? Not quite, but very close. Very, very close. But still, it should make it look a little bit nicer with just a little bit of extra shadow here. There we go. Okay. And now time for some white dots. Okay, and I see that there are no white dots on the bow knot, so I don't have to worry about shenaniganry there. I can just, you know, plop them down, and all will be well. How to draw dots in perspective. I don't actually know. So I'm just gonna kind of make something up, and I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, I will erase on the ribbon here. Here we go, and I will put colors on this too after I get it on the ribbon itself. I'm gonna try to kind of match where they are in the original, at least somewhat. Whoa there. At least somewhat, and it kind of does this sort of pattern. I think that's probably close enough. It looks correct to me, so I think it's fine. Let's go ahead and give it some shadows. Whoops. No, I don't want to change you to overlay. I want to change my brush to overlay. There we go. My brain is clearly just all over the place now. Okay. Now then. Let's see, what else do I have to do here? I think that's actually it for the ribbon. Yep, looking pretty good. I think it's pretty cute. Alright. Do I do her hair clip now? Oh yeah, now that I actually look at her design again here, I kind of see that the little palette hair clip she has in there has a little strand of hair sticking out of it, and it's actually kind of adorable, so I will definitely keep that too. Hopefully I didn't make her hair too thick there. Oops. Not that layer. That layer. There we go. Oh yeah, that bit of hair might be way too thick. Ooh. Okay, what do I do about that? About how large is that hair clip? Roughly the size of her eye on the original, so no, I think I'm okay. I think I just made the hair clip too small. Perfect. Proportions. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do with this, actually, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear this. I know I just made it the right size, but it's fine. Okay, I'm going to invert the colors to make sure that I'm seeing properly, and I will get it the right size here. A little bit higher up at her hair, I think. It might be a little bit large, but I think this is okay, just due to... I think it'll look fine due to perspective shenanigans. And then I'm gonna use the circle again to cut off the bottom and get it the right shape that way. As opposed to just trying to draw that shape myself. That sounds hard. Let's make it easy. I like making things easy when I can. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this is about the same color as this, but it's a little bit more metallic. At least it looks somewhat metallic to me. Let me zoom in on that a little bit more here. Is that a hole or is that a color? Yeah, because that's the symbol on her shirt, but I do not see a close-up of the hairpin anywhere. Okay, no, that does look like a hole to me. Okay, so once again, I'm going to put a little hole right there. And I will get the rest of the colors on this after I finish shading the rest. Okay. So like I said, it looked a little bit more metallic to me, so I'm debating if I want to use a slightly darker color than what I have over here. Let me take a look. Yeah, I think I do. So I'm gonna just plop that color there, and I will find a slightly darker color. One of the things that makes metal look very shiny is that the contrast between light and dark is, like, extreme. Like, it is pretty hardcore. We only think of the shiny parts, but we forget about the other... about the dark parts, too. The dark part is just as important. Because after all, contrast is the difference between light and dark, not just the light. Okay. It's funny. Now the hair clip's looking less like an artist palette and more like Pac-Man. Just because of how I drew it here. Alright, let's get this shaded here. And then I should have all the details I need to really finish off her hair. Maybe not this time, but probably next time. I think I can at least get the shape of the hair looking good today. And then it'll be, you know, back in rendering mode. Where I just take my time getting the edges perfect. And having everything just the way I want it. Okay. And now for this, I'm gonna do something a little bit different than what I normally do for kind of my harder cel-shaded style, because it's metal, and therefore a little bit different, and I'm actually gonna use a little bit of a gradient to get this. There we go. So that'll make it look a little bit more metallic, I promise. And I think it'll look better than if I just did it with a hard brush here, because, yeah, that would look like this. And there is a time and a place for that, but I want it subtle. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick out a very light color. We are going to get that light color now, and I'm still going to use my kind of yellowish color here. And let's see, what direction is the light going? So I think I want my metallic sheen to kind of go this direction. Yes. Yes, I do. I'll go ahead and correct the part that I drew over here. And then I'm going to take my shadow color again and add one more dark stripe between them. And a fair distance on the other side here. That should make it look very shiny. Okay, and I will take the light color one more time and just add a little bit of shininess to it right there. Just a little. It should make it look like it's glowing a little bit more. Okay. And I do plan to merge it, but I will take those other little colors that are hanging out on the hair clip here and put them on their own layers just so I don't mess it up. That would just be unfortunate. I don't really want to have to shade the whole thing again. And they were a little bit larger than the hole. I'm going to compare to the size of the hole here. It's kind of funny. Looking at them, I thought that they might have been the same color as the, various paint splotches on her body, but I think that they're actually a little bit less saturated. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Just one of those subtle little details that you don't really think about. All right. Okay, and I think I'm gonna have to arrange them a little bit here. They're not quite in the right place. This guy should be a little bit more over here. This guy a little bit more over here. And this guy just a little bit more over here. Okay. And now I will give them their shadows. That seems fine to me. Oops. Okay. And then I will shape this properly on all three. And then I will give them a cute little highlight, each and every one of them. Oops. Yes, I need to make sure I use the right color, though. Brain going on autopilot there, forgetting that they're all different colors. Okay. Now then, I'm gonna go pick their highlight color. These looked shiny. Like, not quite gem shiny, but still shiny. So I'm gonna use overlay. Pick the color. Oh, that's actually perfect. Okay. And then all that's left, I want to go take my initial color here. Oh, my brush is still set to overlay. There we go, and I want to put in shadows behind them. Make it look like they're coming out of the hairpin here. There we go. This one is like right in the shiny zone. So I'm gonna kinda get rid of a lot of the shiny there. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. So once again, I think I'm just gonna leave the hair inverted while I clean it up a little bit. So I've cleaned up the bangs going over here, and I think they're mostly looking pretty good. There's like this little guy right here that I think I will erase. Leave a little gap in her hair there. I think it looks good. And I just want to do a little bit of cleaning in the spots that I don't like quite as much. And then from there, I'm just going to go all the way around her head. And start cleaning up her front hair here. Get all of that just right. The color doesn't matter. I will be adjusting all of the colors, you know, soon. Next time, probably. We'll see if there's anything else I want to adjust here. I always like to sleep on whatever I'm working on. After I get what I think is correct proportions. Because most of the time I am not entirely correct, and there's a couple of things I want to adjust. And sleeping on it, at least leaving it for a couple of hours before I come back, kind of lets me look at it with fresh eyes. And it lets me see things that I might have missed otherwise. And I know that if it still looks good after that, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Alright, well, let's just get this all nice and smooth here. Like I said, I don't think I want to go into complete shading today. I might put down some of the rough spots and maybe even some of the hair highlights. Roughly. Very roughly. But I don't think I have time to fully clean the hair today, unfortunately, as much as I would love to do so. Because I swear, once I get through the hair, I feel like one of the hardest parts is done. The 50 pounds of hair that are on the anime girl. So when I'm looking at the hair right now, I am seeing that there's like a lot of the hair is like the exact same width, and that's not going to look very good. So I'm trying to vary it up at least a little bit. You can see that I made this strand a little bit thicker. And I will draw some offshoots on it at some point as well. So I'm going to do, you know, something like this. And it'll be fantastic. Nah. I'm just gonna get rid of that one. I will put it back later. But this is what hair cleaning is always like for me. I always end up erasing a lot of things. Lots of things change when it's time for final rendering. And that is very normal, so, you know, don't worry about it. I think the way that I handle this is a lot of people that like to use their sketch as line art. As opposed to, you know, just drawing the line art separately, they just kind of clean up their sketch. It's kind of the same for me. That's the kind of mentality that I use here, so I do end up changing a lot of things. And in general, I feel like line art is just art asking you a question. Do you want to clean up your art now or later? Because you're gonna have to clean it up at some point. And my answer was later. I like getting everything down and then cleaning, and because of how I get everything down, it just makes more sense for me to do it like this. But I know for some people that they like cleaning everything up right away. And then there's some other people that I've seen that, like, make the lines a very important part of their style. So for them, I guess it's a little bit different. For them, the lines is like the whole point. And man, have I seen people do some pretty stuff with that, even though I don't do it myself. Even though my style is completely lineless. I got to see lots of pretty things when I was looking at ink drawings for inspiration for Inktober. People do very cool things with lines. It's pretty fantastic. Okay. Let's get this strand looking nice now. This one will be... I want it to be a little bit longer than that, I think. Yeah, there we go. This one will be a little bit thinner than the other two. Just to stop things from being quite so monotonous in the hair. And now I see here that I just kind of have to clean up the very tips. They're still a little blobby. And then I can go back and add some loose strands and make it more fun. Make it look like it's just flying everywhere. I think I want this one to be a little bit longer too. And so now this strand is going to be interesting. Because I saw that she had a blue gradient on her hair. And I do think that I will draw that. But probably not until I have, like, everything else shaded. Her hair is, like, white. So it'll be very easy to add more color to it. Alright, let's go add some loose strands here. I always like to do that before I start shading things because I base some decisions in my shading on where I put the loose strands. So it's just nice to have it just right here, right at the start. Right at the start. How do I want to do this one? None of the strokes I'm putting down are looking good. Okay, now that looks good. Nice. Okay, and I will do the same to the bangs here. Just something to make things a little fluffy. I always think that this makes things look a little bit fluffier. So unless I don't want the hair to be fluffy, I pretty much always do something like this. And it's very rare that I don't want the hair to be fluffy, so there you go. I already largely did it on that side, so I think that's good. I want another loose strand here. Nah. I think that's enough. Okay. So I feel like I have all of that cleaned up. Now then... Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and I'll block in some of the shadows and stuff and decide where certain things are going to go. I will probably still put the dark color by the hairband and probably underneath the hair clip too. I thought that looked okay. Get a little bit of darkness under there. Kind of helps separate these colors a little bit. Alright. Now then, from there, I want to start kind of blocking in where some of these shadows are gonna go. separate her various clumps of hair here. You can see that, I mean, I'm redoing a lot of it, but I fully expected that. It's how I roll, you know? Alright, and there will be some kind of shadow shapes doing this kind of thing. I guess I'll go ahead and just let this one come all the way up. I think that'll look fine. And then, you know, there'll be some strands coming down there in this color, and that's the kind of thing that I'll decide more in its entirety a little bit later. Right here, just trying to get some of the rough shapes down. That's where I always start, just rough shapes. Man, her hair looks so soft though, look at that. I think I did pretty well here. I'm probably gonna have to add a little bit more darkness on the other bits of hair here. Let me just go plop something here now just so I can see what I'm doing. And I will decide how to incorporate that blob a little bit later, when it comes time to actually work on her back hair there. Oh. I realized I didn't name the little dots on her hair clip there. I should do that. So I did that. Okay. So I'll just add where I think some of the shadows should go. And that'll probably be the last thing that I do for today. Maybe I'll add some highlights. But I do not plan to really go beyond her hair today. Part of me wishes I could just sit here and just work on this all day. But I got things to do. Because now I'm at the point where, you know, things are going to get easy enough that I probably could just sit here and just render things out all day. Rendering has always been very straightforward for me. Once all the big decisions have been made, it's, you know, just a matter of finishing up. Okay, seems good. And I think I will put a little bit of a dark color right here as well to kind of separate her bangs and that little bit of side hair. Make her hair look a little bit fluffier there too. Okay, let's go ahead and get this bit of side hair here. Kind of start feeling out where some of these big shadows are going to go. I think I've got some pretty good ones already, so that's nice. Should make rendering this out pretty straightforward. So you can see that I'm paying attention to where some of those other strands that I drew are all going. And right now it's all very rough and kind of hairy looking, for lack of a better term. Hairy in this case actually being kind of a bad thing, even though I'm drawing hair. But that kind of thing will be, you know, cleaned up at some point. Nothing has to be perfect right just yet. I just want to make sure that I know where everything's going to go. Okay, I think that's looking pretty alright. And you can see the difference between the front, where I kind of cleaned up everything, and the back, where I haven't yet. All right. Let's put in some highlights. So first I'm going to pick my highlight color, and I think it's probably going to end up pretty close to white, but nonetheless, I will still pick it. So this time I'm going to use soft light because I don't want it to be too strong. Once again, not quite white, but quite close. Okay, and then I know that I want highlights kind of going across her bangs here. Probably a nice big one up there. And then a little bit over there just to kind of finish the line here. And then some more down here. And I will worry about highlights on the hair in the back after I clean them up. Do I want it there? Might make more sense for it to be over here. Yes, I think it does. Okay. So there we go. That's about it for the highlights. Nice and straightforward. And before I stop, I'm realizing that the little tiny hair bun that holds her ponytail, I think it might be a little bit small. Let me actually check that. Because, I mean, to be fair, it is quite small. I'm going to compare it to, like, this here, and... No, I think I have it about at the right size. Okay, never mind. I was worried that I had it too small for a second there. But there we go. So, next time, I check to make sure that I still like all my proportions and the general gist of the paint splatters, and then I just go and render things. And actually, now that I look at it now, I think her head is a bit too big, so that probably means that I will have a couple of things to change. But I'm not going to adjust anything right now. Fortunately, even though I have part of things rendered in her head, I can always just adjust the body in order to fix the proportions in her head. I do think it's a little bit too big. But there we go. I think it's looking pretty good. I really, really do love how soft her hair looks. I think it's fantastic. But this is where I will stop for today. So, thank you all for coming, and I hope you're able to make something wonderful today. I will see you all tomorrow.